Welcome, Michelle. I am so excited to have you here and joining me in this collaborative series of support while people are social distancing and just trying your best to adjust to these new circumstances. Even though we may be 6 feet apart from our loved ones, we can still be connected by heart together at home. So I'm super excited to have you here today and have you share just who you are. Honestly, you're such a beyond a light. Honestly, Michelle, you are so passionate about what you do and who you are, and you have such a wide range of just what you do and how you bring your light and your passion into everything. So I want to hear more about that. I want our audience to get to know you. So can you please just share whatever comes to you about who you are, what lights you up, what you do, all of that good stuff. So take it away.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's so lovely to see you. In fact, I just feel so much emotion just seeing your face. And I think because it's been a few weeks that I've really worked in my normal capacity or been out and seen friends or doing the things our life that we were used to and accustomed to, I feel a lot of emotion just seeing your face and feel a camaraderie and a sisterhood amongst all of us who are really navigating very different circumstances today. So thank you for having me here and giving me a chance to share as well.
Mhm.
So I guess I can start off with, well, we know each other from being BodyMind coaches and started our journey actually together in September at our live retreat. And that's where I got to see your beautiful light start to shine. So I'm really excited to share that with you.
Mhm.
In my capacity, as I'm a body worker. So you talked about this wide range, and yeah, I do have a wide range of capacity of how I support people, but really it's all down into one essence, which is I really love to support women coming into themselves,
Mhm.
coming home. That's what I do. I help people come home.
Yeah.
Um, because that's what I'm doing in my life. And it's been an ongoing process of my own personal journey for the last 20 years. So I have learned over those years how to do that in different capacities, in different ways, um, as a body worker. And then that morphed into being a birth doula and working with families who are transitioning into parenthood. And that's been about 10 years that I've been doing that and teaching childbirth education and mentoring families becoming parents and helping them through the journey of what that transition really is. And then it's really expanded out even more into working with other people who are experiencing life altering circumstances, whether it's a divorce or a loss of job or a chronic illness diagnosis. Um, and also now this pandemic has really changed and altered life circumstances for so many people. So a very specific niche of women that I'm working with are mothers who are now home and trying and learning how to homeschool their children and be with their children full time. I am a homeschooling mom of 3, and I've been doing that for some time, specifically all 3 of them since September. So all of a sudden I realized that there's a problem that needs to be solved that I can actually help people with, a very specific problem. So I kind of with this last few weeks, it's really where I jumped in and started supporting those people who were like, oh my gosh, I'm at home now full time. My kids aren't going to school. They don't have daycare. Like, what do I do? I'm supposed to work. I'm supposed to manage all these things, and just feeling this crushing pressure and anxiety and uncertainty. And I've learned from experience that there's another way to go about it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's huge. And yeah, I think how timely right now. That's the reality of the situation, especially with how you're expressing the specific kind of support that you're giving, that you've been giving, but then now in this life altering circumstance that we're all in, specifically parents, moms who are home now with their children in a different way. So I'm excited to hear a little bit later how, you are supporting people in that field. But I want to kind of go back to what you're saying about the essence of who you are and how that has helped you to, in your diverse, wide range of ways that you support people. that's the common thread, right? So for those listening, I would really love if you can kind of express more or in detail of that core of who you are, the essence of who you are, the core values that you bring into everything you do. Is there one or a few things that, drive you?
Drive me specifically. Is that what you're talking about? Drive me specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, coming home into my body where I can find my spirit is what I do every day. So that's my practice. So what I've really learned is that as life presents seemingly impossible situations, we are very human, experiencing this turmoil, perhaps chaos, uncertainty. But really, what that is, it's an embarking onto a journey. So I really see that as a spark and a catalyst for growth and for learning. Like I said, it's a journey. I love that word because it really is an arc that we can learn to follow as we use what's going on in our environment, in our world, to touch base and see it as a mirror to what's really going on inside. And that's the language that I teach people of how, because everybody has different circumstances going on, but they're all important and they're all signals to be able to look within. So that's the interpretation that I help people awaken to, so that they can actually see their life as guideposts, as milestones to focus their attention inward and learn what it is that really inspires them, what really is waking them up. Because then when we start to align all of those messages, we can navigate our life with ease. Yes, we're going to have emotion, but there's a certain grace that starts to happen as we learn to ride the waves of emotion. So that's one of my core values, is to allow spaciousness around what it is that I am truly feeling in my body and in my heart, in my solar plexus, in my pelvic bowl, in those energy centers that have emotion. When I tap in and give myself spaciousness and time to listen to their messages, it becomes very, very clear where I'm going next. Because right now, if we just look out for the outside circumstances of how we're doing this, it's easy to feel lost. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and anxious. And I feel those things too. And now they are a barometer, I guess. They're boundaries in a way that help me look back inward, so that there is always this core connection inside. And that becomes my compass. So I think that's my major life tenet that I'm needing to practice daily, and to support myself with those. Community. Oh my gosh, I could not do this alone. Having my coaches, having beautiful people like you around me. And nature is a really huge core value of mine too. I need to be in nature, and I need to be moving my body.
I love that.
So music does that from you. Yeah, movement and music, movement and nature are really important tenets. Those are values that I touch base with every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds like, so for someone who is, caught up in the chaos right now, maybe they have kids at home, and they're just trying to adjust to the new norm. Would you say that, from your experience and how you help people, that a starting point would be to create that spaciousness, and then tying in some of those other tethers of support, like community of support, nature, movement? Is that, I guess I'm trying to see, what would be the starting point? Is that spaciousness for you and what you found?
Well, I actually think that spaciousness is one of the results of the work. The first spaciousness I consider a gift. The starting point is always, for me, awareness. When we can recognize that something might possibly be able to be different than it is, or I simply can ask the question, what if, or what else is possible? If I feel like I'm caught in a spin, sometimes it might be this like surge of anxiety. Sometimes it might be frustration. Sometimes it might be this mental negative loop.
Mm-hmm.
If you catch yourself in one of those loops, and we all know those familiar loops, right?
Yeah.
Mine tends to be very self-critical and defeatist. I get very negative. If I see that and recognize that, I always up until now, right, in past, always thought that was normal. Like that was the only way it was going to be. This
Right.
anxiety, this inner turmoil, this negative thinking. I just thought that was how everyone lived. I thought that was normal. It was normal for me, and I thought that was how it had to be. And then there is a little crack sometimes in the lining that says, what if that's not the only way? Like what if one thing might be different? What if I could shift? Is this always true? Right? Those questions. So I think the first step is noticing when there is a negative loop, noticing when there is overwhelm, noticing when there is an accentuation of emotion, a blowing up at a family member, maybe like, whoa, that that was seemed extraordinary out of what circumstance just happened. Like things might not match up.
Mm.
That's the first thing I think is that first step is awareness of like, that didn't seem quite right to me. And then from there, there's a practice of checking in with ourselves. And a very, very simple way to start this process is just to find your feet. You
Mm-hmm.
can even do it right now. Just find where you are in space. I connect to my feet. So if your feet aren't on the ground, simply put them on the ground. And you'll notice as soon as you connect to your feet, you may notice your breath change, because there's a certain awareness that our body has all the time. Just we're so used to being so cognitive and figuring things out that as soon as we bring our attention to the body, just even for a split second, where are my feet? Oh, there's my breath. Oh, what that does is it immediately brings a slight bit of presence, which equals spaciousness.
Wow. I love how you explain that. So you're so good at that. And I imagine that when you're working with someone one-on-one or even in the group, your group that you've been offering, that someone listening can feel just as connected just by hearing those simple directions that, right now for many people, it isn't easy. It isn't the norm to stop the looping, because the norm right now is to get caught up in the looping. And just like you were saying with the journey, it's so true that the journey starts with the awareness. I'm just going to pause for a second, only because it's saying my internet's unstable. Okay. If you wind up losing me, just let me know and I will
Okay.
hop on. So back to,
Yeah,
yeah.
everything seems okay. I
Okay.
guess what I want to address with that, what you just said, is that it's really not anybody's fault that they're caught up in a loop,
Mm-hmm.
because we were grown up. If you've grown up in an American culture, certainly a Western culture, it is accentuated from when we are little kids to put an emphasis on how we think and how we show up in the world is by cognitive processing. It's just the way that we were taught. And it's idolized, it's accentuated, it's given A pluses, it's given grades, right? We learn how to function in that way. So it's not really any of our faults, and it's not only unique to this time frame, right? But I really believe, and I know this to be true, is that it is an innate quality of us as human beings, as spiritual beings in a human experience, that we have this consciousness within our body. It's there. The wisdom is innate. It's already here. So it's not a matter of creating it. It's more of a matter of leaning into it, of kind of moving away some of the dissonance, the
Mm-hmm.
mental dissonance, the emotional dissonance. And then underneath, we're like, whoa,
Right.
there's this vast, infinite wisdom already here. I just didn't really know how to access it.
Right.
And that's what I love teaching, when I watch people open up to that vastness and infinite
And
wisdom inside
you're
of
right.
themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, that it is something innate, and sometimes that can sound out there, nebulous to people who are that disconnected. But it starts with the curiosity and
Mhm.
accepting that, or those questions of, well, what if this were true? What if I can connect to that innate, wisdom within? What does that mean? So the curiosity, for me, has always been really helpful, leading to the awareness, but also just exploring that, being open to exploring that and then embracing it. Because whether you want to believe it or not, it does exist, and your body is trying to find ways to communicate that to you. And the moment that you become present, the moment that you put your feet down to the ground and you bring your attention to that feet, like you said, you find your breath. It's like your body's speaking, and it's like, oh, okay, we're here. Like, let me show you, and let me teach you all the things that you've been ignoring or not hearing, or just like learning a new language. It takes time, but the practice, getting into
Right.
practice, that the more and more you do it, the easier it becomes. So even if this sounds like it's
Yes.
out there, if it resonates with someone, to want to find a way to end that looping, even if that's been your norm for your whole life, right? Like you said, there's a lot of things in culture and the way that we're brought up that shapes and molds the way that we think, but that doesn't have to always be the way that, things are from this point forward. We are at choice. And this pandemic time, I think, has taught us, we have made a lot of shifts, right? Like with our business, you and I and other people diving into this virtual world where we weren't practicing that way before. But it comes down to, well, what are our core values? How, with connection, we want to still connect, we want to still provide. And so you become aware of that, and then you look for, out of those core values and those desires, you just find ways to make that true for you. And
That's right.
yeah, go ahead if you want
Yeah,
to.
that's right. And so what you said about like needing to shift how we work in our practice, I am one of those practitioners who is all one-on-one in-person practitioner for 15 years. And one of my tenets of how I work with people, one of the ways that I think one of the reasons why people come to me is because, yes, they might come with a presenting physical symptom, like my neck is hurting, or I feel stress in my body, or I have an injury. Yet when they come and they're in on my table and doing body work, when we access the body and the fascia connections, I work with fascia and the connections within the body, it starts to make connections to the mental process, because it is connected. People start to get more aware of their body and space. They get more aware of the way their thoughts are connected to the stress, or how their brain waves change when someone's doing body work with them, right? It's because it's all connected. We aren't like separate. We may feel separate. We may feel dissociated. We may feel dismembered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that. We often do feel, but I also feel like people are starting to hear this call of like, something's not quite right, or there's might be something more. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure what it is, but they hear a call, and that call might look like, I want to help somebody, or I want it can look in so many different ways. But I think when we have this big catalyst like we're doing right, what like we're having in our world environment right now, it is a calling for a lot of people to say, what else is there?
Right.
Things are changing. What else is there?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the starting point.
Yeah. And
When
we
you
no
hear
longer
a call.
Yeah, and we no longer have those distractions right now. Pandemic means global. We're all in this same space right now. No matter what your self-isolation or quarantine looks like, your life as you knew it, as we've known it, has been put on pause. And for some of us, it's going to forever be changed when we come out of this. And so during this pause right now, without all of those distractions, where a lot of people were just surviving without realizing it, and now you have the pause and the breath and the space to reflect. When you hear that inner call, like, wow, like whatever that your body is calling you to do, or that part of you who's always been in there that you've never had time or energy to really hear or focus. Now all the distractions out of the way. So,
Yep.
you know, what
Or
are you
you've
going to
heard
do?
it and ignored it. Because in fact, if we talk about the hero's journey, the hero hears the call 3 times and ignores it,
Mhm.
right? Because we're busy, because I got kids to raise, because I got a job, because I got to walk my dog, because of all these, my mom needs me. I mean, all the reasons.
Yeah.
But yet when there's a fire inside,
Mhm.
it will continue to burn. So this may just be the time and space where now you realize there is an opportunity to listen.
Yeah.
And if it's not, that's okay. It'll come around again. Like, we don't have to worry about there not being inspiration, because that is part of being here. That's
Yeah.
part of being alive. That's the vital essence of being alive, is we want to move forward in our life. And if we are feeling restricted or depressed or held down in some way, then in my belief, that is not that is showing you that that's the place to grow. That's the touch point of where to grow through.
I love how you said also, and like, if now's not the time, the fire will come around again, because we're all trying to figure this out, right? And that's part of your cognitive brain, your logical mind, trying to gain that normal routine back, or at least that sense of normalcy. And it's all different with the journey of life, right? Sometimes we may feel that inner wave of whatever's coming up, that fire, several times in our lives before we act on it. I know for me personally, I have always felt this familiarity, but I didn't act on it until a little bit older. Probably like last year, I feel like I can reflect back now and see the moments where I somewhat acted on it, but then out of not knowing, not having the tools, not really knowing how to connect into my body and listen to it. But every single time I can look back now and see when it did wave up, when that fire did come up, and how me having the tools, like you mentioned, like community of support has been huge. That was probably the missing link for me, that once I received through this BodyMind coaching program, and being part of a like-minded community, learning that I don't have to do it myself, and learning how to tune in and ground down and all that. That was my catalyst for acting on that fire in a way that was so authentic, and just linked all of those, like all of those things that were always out in front of me, but I didn't know how to line up and align. So for people listening, I really want them to hear that part, that it's okay if you're feeling that fire, but you don't feel exactly like it's aligned to take action on it, because even in the inaction, or at least what feels like inaction, you're still actually creating this timestamp for yourself. And in the future, when it is time, when it does align in a deeper way, it's going to be that much more meaningful. And you're going to be able to look back and be like, I get it now. I get in learning your core values. I get why I always felt this in my life. And this always felt familiar. And so I want to kind of speak to that with you, and, you know, ways you've supported people with being a homeschooling mama, with being a birth doula, a mentor, coach, and all of those things, massage therapist, making the shifts that you've made right now. In what ways are you supporting people specifically right now?
Yeah, I love that analogy of the fire that you just expanded on.
Mhm.
That is a really important message here that you just shared, that I'm just going to like just give some space around that to let that resonate for people. That there is no, you may feel urgency, but there is no deadline.
Mm.
So like, we all have our own pace, we all have our own rhythm, and finding that rhythm
Mhm.
and welcoming that rhythm is a really important process of knowing who you are. And so just because you see other people taking a lot of action, or just because other people have to change their lives dramatically, or just, it's okay. We're putting down the comparisons to other people's rhythms. And I encourage people to listen in to what their own rhythm is here. And so that is one of the clearest messages that I've been trying to tell my homeschooling mama friends,
Mhm.
that there is no deadline. that our children are going to get where we're going, and we are going to get where we're going one day at a time, one step at a time, and that it's all valuable. All the lesson is valuable. So that if people who are trying to translate their old life into present circumstances and finding it not working, it's because it probably won't, right? There's no direct translation here. It's a rediscovering, remembering, a recalibrating. And what is the essence? What are the core essence values underneath what you were doing before that you want to bring in to a new manifestation? So that's what I'm helping from parents who were having their children in a public school or private school and needing to now support them at home, helping them find those core essence values of what it is that they're wanting to teach their children. And for me, it's always been an emotional stability for my kids. Like, I know they're going to learn how to multiply. I know they're going to learn how to read. We are going to layer those skill sets. They are important as well. But underneath, I need to have the stability and foundation of safety and support for my kids. And without that, then, or I should say with that, the scaffolding of skills, life skills and math skills and reading skills and writing skills will be able to come as they need to and be built on top of that. So that's where I'm really supporting families to just settle down and slow down into what is really important and allowing space and time for those things to happen, whether it's being outside and playing, or it's sometimes we're just going to watch movies today, right? Or like giving permission to have it not look the way we think it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And so the way I'm doing that, you asked specifically, right now, I have a Facebook group that I'm calling people into as a place to gain support and community around these type of discussions. And sometimes it's a meditation. I do love to offer meditations to help people feel what's going on inside, and to just get centered, a centering process. If you resonate more with that language, it's a centering process, finding our breath, finding our feet, finding our space in our bodies, giving acknowledgement to our feelings and what's going on. And then there's also some dialogue and some jokes and some banter and some fun things that we're doing as well. So it's not all serious. It's not all spirit and divine. It's not all sad and remote, like sad and grief, right? But it's all of that. And so it's a big circle of a container of allowing expression and authenticity. I know you said that word. So like whatever's really resonating on a day-to-day basis for people.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in checking that out, it is called Little Owl and Mama Bear. And you can also find my business page, which is Michelle Beaulieu Amari on Facebook. And I'll also be opening up my books to one-on-one sessions, and which could be an hour-long, kind of going through specific focus questions and starting the process. And I also would offer containers for people, a time container where we work regularly together and really dive deeper into the conversation on a one-on-one basis.
That's beautiful. And I want to back up and go back to, I just love how you express these things, as it just makes so much sense. But like, it sounds like what pops up into my mind as you're speaking is balance and alignment. And the core essence life skills. You said something like that, which I think is it's so important. I'm not a parent. I'm a dog mama. So I don't have any kids that go to school. However, I have a sister who just had a baby. She's 8 months and is in that transition, period, and trying to do the best she can right now. But I also have a lot of family with young ones, friends. And I see the concern, and I think it's coming from that deeper emotion. We just had our mastery session with Kathy on emotion and feelings, but the deeper emotion of that love and that protection and wanting to provide. And so as you're just even expressing, like, while your kids are at home, first of all, starting with teaching yourself or reconnecting to home, to your core essence, and what is most important in life for you. Once you start that and you have that as your foundation, and that stability, then you can start building upon that and teaching your children. So yeah, it's not about the specific skills of math and language and anything else. And I just have to laugh for a moment because I've been watching these memes of the parents teaching their kids with math. I'm like, even when I try with my brother, I'm like, I don't know what kind of math you're learning. Side point. So you can get really stressed with that. But if you, again, bring it back to, instead of we are in such a mentality or loop of thinking from the top down, but going from your feet, from the bottom up, and really just diving deep and exploring your core essence, those skills, those values that are innate, that have kept you safe and protected all these years. And now as a parent, you know, being able to connect into that first and then have your class, if you will, with your child, but being able to teach them how to start with their foundation at such a young age. What a gift, what a blessing. If you can right now during this time where you don't have the distraction or the comparison and the competition, connect with your children, connect with yourself first, right? And then help them build their core essence life skills and have that full balance of what it is, right? With emotions to connect with them. And coming out of this, wow, your children are going to be amazing human beings. That's what I see.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. You said that so beautifully. It brings tears to my eyes because that's how we change the world, right? Like it starts with us. When we get that, then we pass it forward, and this opportunity to give it to our children. Like these children are our future. They're the ones who are going to be living in this new place, right? They're the ones that are taking everything we've learned and taking it forward from here. So that is one of the biggest passions I have, and one of the things that moves me the most is that opportunity to really pass forward in an intentional way these skills, because it took me well into my adulthood when things had to fall apart completely for me to be like, wait a minute, that can't be right.
Right? True.
That can't be right. So I see that as part of my job now, part of my calling now is to say, okay, everybody, you don't have to wait until you're 25 for your life to fall apart, or when you're in a midlife crisis to start to learn who you really are here and your purpose here. You don't have to wait that long. Like if you start to feel a spark now, bring in the people who get you, who understand that language so that you can help cultivate that. It's like planting seeds and letting that grow, and you have so much time to be able to really explore what that is and then bring your gifts into the world as well.
Yeah. And I mean, and we hear it all the time. Kids are like sponges, right? Like I've been a spiritual mentor guide for my little brother. I mean, little brother, he's 18 now, but we started our conversations, our one-on-one brother-sister time when he was 3. And that taught me huge lessons, because even from that tender age, I was always so impressed at who he was at that age. Like he had his own personality. He would ask those deeper questions, and they got deeper and deeper as we got older. But because we had this container, this spiritual outlet, conversation, for me, it was just really open. I just wanted to see what the mind of a 3-year-old could do and let him express himself. And that experience just continues to remind me time and time again, kids are like sponges. And if you can provide this core essence foundation for them right now, like you said, children are the future. So again, what a blessing if you could just take the time to start building those core essence skills for them. Because yeah, like many of us do reach our rock bottoms before we finally accept our fire and act on it. And that may have to happen for you as well. But what if it didn't have to happen? What if right now you're feeling that fire and you're like, oh, I want to act on that now? You can decide to do that. And with someone like Michelle, I'm going to have all the links to find Michelle in the podcast bio, and also any of the platforms I'm going to be releasing this. So if you want to find Michelle and work with her, please, I encourage everybody, because it's just so necessary. And for those of us who have accepted our fire and have embraced it and worked on it, I think we all feel this passion coming out, and it's like there's nothing containing it anymore. Because I know for me, I've realized that it doesn't matter. Life doesn't matter if I'm not living authentically, and if I'm not embracing that fire that I feel within. And I'm not perfect. You know, I still have my emotional waves and roller coasters. However, I have the tools now, and I have my community of support, and I've received the specific support I need to receive. But that's because I got clear on my intention and how I want to live my life. So for people who are on that part of their journey, maybe this is the specific support that you've been looking for, praying for, searching for, you know, and just go out and grab it. Now's the time, you know? So if there's anything else that you would love to share with people at this moment, I'd love to hear it. Anything that comes up.
Well, what came up for me, just briefly, what came up for me when you were talking about children being sponges, that is, I do find that to be true. But I also want to just also notice how the children are the light. And so children who are 3, 4, 5, younger, really that 5 and younger age before the frontal cortex really comes online, they are all light, they are all emotion, they are all personality, they are all themselves, right? And it starts to shift when we have to figure out how to be right in the world, how to function correctly in the world. That's when we start to shape our expression. And so notice when you're around the children, those of you who are around the children, just notice where you see their light shining, because what that is also that essence in you. And I find my children are my greatest teachers, and my children show me the places in me that need to be reparented. And we all, as adult children, have that place inside that needs a parent. And we get to now do that for ourselves. And there's so much healing that happens when we start to turn that love that we have towards our children and turn that love in towards ourselves as well. And that is that loop, that cycle, that vitality that you spoke of. So it is reciprocal. It can be reciprocal. It is an exchange. And I find when we get into that vitality and amplify that, the relationships bloom. There's more ease. There's less dissonance. I can understand their language better. They can understand me. There's less power struggle, right? So it becomes this dance of relationship. We are actually, as parent and child, learning from each other. I might not actually tell them that out loud, right? But there's an understanding that starts to even be perceived without language. And that ease and that relationship is what I love helping parents open up to. So
that's beautiful, Michelle. I'm so excited. Like I said, I will be providing all of the links to find Michelle. Just thank you for your time, Michelle. I really appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, so good to see you.